Co-creating with the universe is not exactly just being like, higher self, like, show me that my man's going to come in to, sweep me off my feet today. And it can happen that way, and that's incredible. But it's not necessarily being like, oh, higher self, show me this, and then I'm in alignment with it. It's all about aligning yourself with where you want to go. I personally believe the things that we say out loud send energy out into the universe that then comes back to us.
Welcome to another episode of the Hayley Morecambe podcast. I am so excited you're here, for showing up for yourself, your self-love and self-worth. Each week, I gift you the permission and the space to claim the most happy, healthy, abundant life and give you access to the most sparkliest version of you. On this journey together, we'll learn and grow and thrive to be the best version of ourselves. We don't settle for anything less than incredible. I'm your host, Hayley, a women's wellness and mindset coach with over a decade of industry experience. I'm the founder of my signature program, Naturally Well. I'm a writer, a former radio host and journalist, and all-round wellness guru. I'm a mama to the most divine little girl and a fur parent to a cheeky little cavoodle. I am so pumped to take you into another magical episode. Are you ready? Let's go. Welcome back to the podcast. Today's episode is for the woman who knows she's meant for more, but maybe hasn't fully trusted herself enough to take the leap. I'm joined by the beautiful Jess Patterson, an advanced intuitive and Reiki master teacher who helps women reconnect with their intuition, overcome the inner blocks holding them back, and step into the version of themselves who is truly worthy of their dreams. This conversation is all about intuition, something we all have. Higher self-work, self-trust, signs from the universe, and what it really looks like to co-create a life that feels aligned, expansive, and deeply true to you. Jess shares her own powerful journey of transformation from living out of alignment and seeking fulfillment outside of herself to building a deeply connected, intuitive, and spiritually led life. We chat about why women often struggle to trust their intuition, how to start tuning into the wisdom already within you, how to understand signs and synchronicities, this bit's fun, and how to begin becoming your highest self in a real, grounded, everyday way. There is so much wisdom in this episode, and I know it's going to leave you reflecting, expanding, and feeling more connected to yourself. So let's dive in. Jess, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I am so excited to have you. You are like just the best energy already, just as we were chatting beforehand. Also, I know this is going to be great.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm really excited. I feel like we're a very similar energy. So I feel like this is kind of going to be a bit of a party.
Yes, it is. It is going to be the best party. So before we jump into all our juicy questions today, I've got some rapid fire questions for you. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. The first one is, if you could swap lives with anyone in the whole world for a day, who would it be and why?
Ooh, who would I want to swap lives with for the day? It's so funny. I guess like the first thing that came to my mind, which is so abstract because I know exactly what she does all day, every day, is my dog Frankie, because she's so spoiled and she just walks around sharing love with the whole entire world. And I just think it would be so interesting to swap perspectives with an animal. But now that I'm saying that, if I was going to pick any animal, I'd want to be like a blue whale or a humpback whale or something in the ocean, swapping lives with them for a day, swimming around and just exploring and seeing what's available under the sea. I'm a bit different, so my answers are going to be really abstract, but hopefully everyone can follow along.
Yeah. Oh, everyone's following along. Don't worry. Yeah, I have thought about the dog one. That would be a good one. But yeah, I also love the underwater aspect of it too. Yeah.
There's just something mystical and magical about the ocean, I think. And we really don't know what's going on under there. They could have like a whole different situation than what we really perceive. So I'd love to get the inside goss on that.
Yeah, the Little Mermaid might be onto something. Like there could be a whole world under there. Who knows?
Literally. And if we could sing under there as well at any point in time, like it would just be literally the Little Mermaid. And I would love that. So if the Little Mermaid exists, I'd want to swap lives with her.
Okay, great answer. Best answer.
I've swapped it 3 times. Awesome.
That is fine. You're allowed to change your mind here. The second question is, what's the first thing you do in the morning to start your day on a positive note?
I do a multitude of things in the morning. I'm a bit, but I've built this practice from the ground up. So initially, like at the start of my spiritual awakening, which we'll talk about, I just used to do one thing in the morning and I wasn't
Mhm,
really a good meditator or anything. So that was yin yoga. It felt really accessible to me, just a bit of stretching and things like that. Now my morning routine looks like listening to a visualization as I'm waking up. So I give myself 20 minutes in bed just to kind of soak that in without consciously soaking it in.
mhm,
I get up, make my bed. That's one tick of progress for the day. Then I do a little bit of breath work. And I also do this. It's pretty trendy on TikTok at the moment, but it's this Chinese medicine lymphatic exercises. So you do 8 different exercises, 1 minute added like for each one. And so it's just eight
mhm.
minutes of your time. Lymphatic hops, waves, dead arms, like you're just pretty
Oh,
much
I love it.
shaking out all of the things that you've held onto while you've been asleep and you're just letting it loose. And it also is kind of a bit of a lymphatic drainage at the same time. And then I do a bit of tapping and then I walk the dog and get some sunshine. So that's at the moment my consistent morning routine. It takes me about an hour to an hour and a half.
That's pretty good that it only takes an hour. I was about to ask how long that actually takes, but that is so juicy. I love that.
Yeah,
Especially the lymphatic drainage.
well, the way that you start the day for me personally is just everything. And
Mhm,
I notice on the days that I don't do, like, I don't necessarily have to follow everything to a T. I wouldn't say that I did that all this morning. Today, I swapped it up for instead getting up out of bed, listening to that visualization, making my bed, and then hightailing it to the beach for coffee and outside time with Frank. And then I do my energy practices on the beach instead of doing them at home. So those are included in my morning routine, but I just kind of add them in as I go.
Yeah, I love
Um,
that. It's gotta be
yeah.
flexy, doesn't it? So it's not rigid. I used to be really rigid. I'm like, "I have to do this at this time," and now it's like, whatever I'm feeling, we are feminine, sovereign beings, like, we have to be fluid, like, we have to be able to change it up.
We are feminine beings, and
Yeah.
I've lived in that mindset as well, like, work out 5 days a week, Monday to
Mhm.
Friday, keep your routine exactly the same, and I respect that in one
Yeah.
way because I think that the less that you have to think, the more energy you have for yourself, and so if you're doing similar things each day and you have a bit of a plan, your feminine can flow because the masculine is
Yeah.
being held by your container of, "Oh, here's the plan for the day." But at the same time, we're cyclical beings. Every week is different
Mm.
for us, and we really need to honor that, or else we're not essentially putting ourselves first, which is something that I've prioritized through trial and error and seeing, oh, well, when I prioritize myself this morning on this day, I notice the effects throughout the day. And that's just been a
Mhm.
game changer for me. It's sort of like evidence over just whatever I see on the internet. But if something piques my interest, like the Chinese medicine thing, I give it a go and then I test it for a few days and I'm like, oh, cool. How do I feel this week? And then that's how
Mhm.
things kind of get implemented into my morning
Yeah,
routine.
I love that. You trial it first, see if it fits with you. If it does, keep it. If it doesn't, let it go. Yeah, I love that so much.
Yeah.
And I'm the same. Like if I don't, sometimes I do Pilates instructing, but it's like a 4:45 a.m. start. So if I don't start, yeah, it's a really early start. So I'm an early person, that's fine. But if I don't start my day with putting myself first, and I go because there's not much time to, I prioritize sleep as well. There's not much time to do anything before that. I notice a difference in
Uh,
myself. Like I notice a
uh,
difference in my energy. So yeah, just having those foundational pieces, but enough to ebb and flow and be flexy with it. I love that. That was a not so rapid fire question, but we do have one more.
I love
If
it.
you if you could choose one superpower to help you in business or life, what would it be and why?
It's so interesting because what a lot of what we're going to talk to today is like having superpowers that I've just developed over time. But if I was to pick an outside superpower, I'd love to be able to teleport. I don't know,
Mhm.
like, because in business as well, like, say we were going to do this in person and I didn't want to have to drive on the roads, I could just snap my fingers and be right where you are.
Mhm.
Or I could snap my fingers, be at the beach, be back in 2 seconds, like, I feel like I would just be, like, zipping here, there, and everywhere if I could have a superpower of teleportation, so that's my
Yeah.
answer.
It's so funny that you actually say that because that's one of the I feel like it's a very similar energy that I have on this show, and most guests actually say the teleportation. And I remember one guest saying one of the reasons why, which I love so much, and it's what we were just touching on, is so she could teleport herself back in her home every day. So even if she wanted to travel, she's still coming back and she's living her low tox life. She's still got access to the water. She still gets up and does the morning routine. even though you like traveling. So you teleport, then teleport back again. I was like, I love that so much.
I love that too. Could you imagine? Because as well, I think one of the things, as much as sleeping in incredible hotel beds and all sorts of
Hmm.
things are amazing, one of the best things about coming back from a trip is getting back into your own bed and like being with all of your own creature comforts. So
Yeah.
I'm going to take that and add that to my answer as well.
Yes. I love that. I collate these answers as we go along. I just love them. So, Jess, let's get straight into it. How do
Mhm.
you describe what you do? I know that can be a loaded question.
Uh, it is, yes. So how I would describe what I do, essentially, I just call myself an intuitive. So there's many
Hmm.
different facets and layers that come into me calling myself an intuitive. So along the way, I've studied psychic readings, I've done a lot of tarot, oracle card readings, I've studied Reiki level 1 all the way up to master teachers, as well as Seishem energy healing. You name it, if it's called to me, I've dabbled and dived in to understand myself better along this journey. Whereas now, over the last 12 months, I've been in advanced intuitive classes where I'm practicing pretty much multiple times a week with different other intuitives from across the world, and then using these skills to help other people uh, essentially uncover their true selves or their true answers that are like right there waiting for them. They're just hidden behind a bit of muck or a bit of emotion, and they're not
Mm,
quite able to access it in the time because truly, as human beings on this planet, even though a lot of things that we are kind of pulled towards are solitary, we're meant to be community. And so it's kind of a really nice, like, a role, I guess you could say, is being an intuitive, because I just get to hold up the mirror to people and be like, you've got the power to change this if you want it to go in like whatever way you want it to go. You've just got to be the one to see it and see that you have all the power. So I'm an
yeah.
intuitive, but underneath that, there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, I love that. And you're not telling people something or telling them an answer. Like, I love that you said that you mirror back. And I know that you haven't always been on this journey. You didn't wake up an intuitive, or, you were born that way, I should say. Tell us a little bit about your journey of how you got to where you are today and doing what you're doing. And I know it involves your beautiful dog, Frank.
Yeah. The story started a long time before Frank got here, and I see everything that's happened in my life as a piece of the puzzle that's gotten me to exactly where I am. So I guess we can go prior to 2020. 2020 was a huge year for all of us in many,
Hmm.
many, many different ways. Um, Jess, prior to 2020, was a professional DJ working as a radiation therapist. I literally worked 6 or 7 days a week, fully in my masculine, fully in hustle, eating junk food like it was going out of fashion, drinking caffeinated beverages from the time I woke up to the time I went to bed. I would drink multiple alcohol types every different day. My main preference was wine. I was what would be considered to society a functioning alcoholic for about 5 years prior to 2020,
Hmm.
with anxiety and depression. So there's a lot going on there that I've had to learn about myself in order to understand it, to have healthier relationships with all of those things. It's not that I don't do XYZ anymore. It's just that I've changed from within. That has changed my relationship outside of myself. And so that's just a little bit of backstory of that. So yeah, living the party girl lifestyle. I always wanted to work in clubs. I always wanted to be a party girl. It was what I saw on the movies. It was what all my favorite celebrities did. That was what I thought the life was for me. And
Hmm.
so when I finally felt like I had it all in 2019, but at the same time, I was completely miserable. I was also going through my Saturn return, if anybody knows what that is, which is quite an illuminating time, to say the least, where
Every
you really,
9 years, is it?
yeah, but this one was around 30, which was a really, it's kind of that pivotal one that gets everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people end up having a spiritual awakening around that time and or afterwards. So
Hmm.
I was fortunate for mine to be timed perfectly with everything that went on in the world, which made it very illuminating, i.e., uncomfortable.
Hmm.
But in your uncomfort, you learn so much about what you can do and how much you are capable of so much more, which is eventually what has led me here. So that's a bit of the backstory. Essentially, as well, working as a radiation therapist, moving away from home and living in the big city. I lived in Sydney. I was lonely. I was a chronic gambler as well. I would spend my paycheck right down to zero every single week, and I was miserable. So the thing I would do every day with patients while I was being happy Jess. They would always call me happy. And I was quite performative in that respect, but I loved the patients. I still do to this day. I'll never forget them, and they'll always have a place in my heart.
Uh-huh.
I would dream up this dog, Frankie. Frankie was beautiful, cute. She didn't exist. We lived near the beach. We would run along the beach together. I would tell everyone all about this dog that I was dreaming up, and I'd talk about her all day, every day. One time I saw those colleagues in about 2022 at a wedding, and they all go to me, yeah, that's that dog that you wouldn't stop talking about, and now she exists. And I'm like, don't you think that's amazing though? Like, what?
Wow.
So when I
Mm.
looked at her after getting her for a few weeks, and I finally got through those first weeks of like new motherhood where I completely crashed out, I just made this huge investment. I decided to move out of my house with my housemates. So I was all on my own. I was in the craziest time that I'd ever experienced in the world, let alone everybody else.
Yeah.
I got this dog, and I looked at her and I was like, Frankie is this dog I've literally dreamed up. Even the story of getting her, like I had this whole thing where I was trying to switch for a different dog after I'd already put my deposit down, and she was meant to be mine. The whole thing was very aligned. So from
Mm.
there, I went into work one day and said to one of the nurses, who I'd never really had a relationship with prior to this conversation, which is so interesting. We'd not necessarily been on the best of terms. And then I walk up to her randomly and I go, "Do you believe in manifestation?" And she looks at me as if she'd seen a ghost, and she goes, "Yes." And I was like, "Do you have any podcasts you could recommend me?" Like, I just felt like I needed to ask you, which is just so, even saying this now, even though that's something that would be so much more like an everyday thing for me, at the
Yeah.
time, it was like, what the heck am I doing? And why am I asking this? But I just started binging everything. So learning about manifestation was the main thing. I did Manifestation Babe Academy. That was one of my first big investments for myself in 2021. But along the way, I was learning all about the mind. How we speak to ourselves actually dictates how we act, how we stand, what we choose for ourselves. And I was like, whoa, I'm a puzzle. I love puzzles. I'm a
Uh-huh.
puzzle. This information is giving me the pieces to unravel and see the bigger picture. Let's experiment here. I'm my main experiment. So from then, I've pretty much binged, worked with different mentors, listened to all sorts of podcasts, so many different things while also working full time, and just trying to absorb and integrate and embody as much as I can ever since then. So it's taken me on a whirlwind of journeys into my depths, into my past lives, into energy work, energy healing, what effects that has between me and other people. It changed my life because I
Mm.
started seeing that I had more power and, I guess, control in a place like a world with it. You have no control. I'm an ex control freak. I know that I had no control over anything except myself. And so I was able to implement these things and sit back and watch the changes in real time and go, I created this. There's something to this.
Mm.
We have the power to change our lives. We just have to give ourselves permission. And so, permission is a huge thing that I'm still working on to this day. I think some things are just always new levels. I don't want to say devils, but
Yeah.
there's always new elements to this of how we can open ourselves up and expand ourselves even more into greater learnings of that. But it's just interesting because it was like nothing I'd ever seen growing up. I'd never heard anybody talk about this stuff, and I'd never heard anybody being able to change. Like, I used to be 20 kilos heavier. I had anxiety and depression that I was fully medicated from, and I literally thought for years I would never be able to stop gambling or drinking or any of that. And the days that I was able to just like question it and then not do it, or even if I went back to it, that was like learning to love myself and see how everything was perfect. But it was so interesting because I never thought that there was a reality where I could have like a relationship with these things instead of being like, I'm either doing it or I'm never doing it. Like when you hear
Yeah.
about AA, it's like, oh, I'm always an alcoholic. It's like, I can have a drink every other month. And
Uh-huh.
most of the time, I don't even think about it. Sometimes I just do it because to me, I still enjoy that like ritual of celebration to have one glass of wine with like a pasta or something. And to me,
Mm.
that sends my vibration through the roof. So sometimes, for the right circumstance on a date with myself, I will do that. But it's not something I feel like I have to be like forever conscious of because it's already something I've managed within myself by just witnessing myself and questioning it, going,
Yeah.
oh, what is my relationship to this? Why do I think that I need it? And if I was to go through this day without it, what would that look like and how would I feel? Just asking simple questions. And it doesn't have to be the same answers every day. Every day is different, but it's curious and you really start to like get to know yourself. And that's when you double down on going, okay, cool. Maybe I can start to like buy in and loving some selves, like some things here, because I've also been quite insecure over time, as a lot of women are in society. And so I feel like I've gone loop de loop back to the answer of the question. So I hope everyone's
Yeah.
still following along.
No, I definitely am following along. I
Cool.
love it so much because it's like, what do you think the gambling and the alcohol, why, looking back on it now in hindsight, and now you've, come to this beautiful place and connected into yourself, what do you think the alcohol and gambling, why do you think you were turning to that?
Ooh, I just got chills. It's a multifaceted sort of answer, to say the least, but it comes back to a few core things. I was very much living out of alignment with who, at my core, my soul felt like I should be. So I chose
Mhm.
I love the whole life that I've lived because of radiation therapy. But if I went back in time and I was actually living from this place where I know myself to be now, would I have chosen that? Probably not. Like I had resistance to going to uni, all of these sorts of things. So I
Mm.
just moved out of home to start this role while also still trying to fulfill my creative need as a DJ on the weekends. I was very much taught like hustle for money. Like I was chasing money. I thought that the more that you worked, the more you would be successful. So all of these things go against everything that I believe now. So it was
Mhm.
creating a lot of dissonance in my body that dysregulated my nervous system, and these things made me feel better for a time. Now, obviously, gambling your entire paycheck away is one of the most crushing and debilitating things you can possibly do. I can still feel in my
Yeah.
nervous system what that felt like when I think back to the certain places and times that I did that. But a
Mm.
lot of that came along with the DJ lifestyle where sometimes people would give me money to gamble and all sorts of things. Like there's so many different things
Enabling
going
it.
on there, enabling
Mm.
it or encouraging it, making it seem like it's a normal lifestyle. And I grew up in socioeconomic levels that glorify this type of thing. It's a way of socializing. Drinking was a way of socializing, all of these sorts of things. And so it was a dopamine release as well as a nervous system kind of calming thing that made me think that if I could win, I would have control. If I could just like
Mm.
calm my nervous system and be that person everybody knows me to be. Because the thing about me, I'm a stellium Scorpio. So like I'm happy, go lucky and vibey, but there are depths to me that a lot of people can't hold and understand because they don't know how to hold it within themselves. But I saw that a lot because I didn't know how to hold it within myself. So all I felt like was that there was something different and weird about me. And these things were built with a little bit of like a release of dopamine and a little bit of stress release over time that I then kept going back to trying to get control, trying to win money and change my whole
Yeah.
life because I knew I was out of alignment and I didn't know what to do about it. So it was also in a lot of ways like I don't think that there would be as much of a calling for me to be a mirror to others if I hadn't have experienced a lot of the depths in my life that I have been experienced. Like I've experienced a lot of
Yeah.
different people at a lot of different levels in a lot of different ways that your average person probably would be like, well, that's scary. That's this, that, and the other. Like it's very different. And I don't think I'd be able to talk to a lot of other people's experience if I hadn't experienced a lot of these things myself. But ultimately, it was a pleasure seeking thing and it was a way to try and control my future in the now that never actually worked out. But at the time, it felt so good because those flashing lights, like the sounds that those machines make,
Mm.
like alcohol, everything, it's all marketed and it's all kind of like made to get that dopamine release and get you wanting to come back and making you think, oh, maybe I can win that jackpot. Oh, maybe, like if I just socialize enough, like I'll get to the right level of like whatever. Like there's so many different
Mm.
stories that go along with it, but it all kind of comes back to the same narrative. I wasn't enough. There was so many things in my life that I was choosing that was amplifying this. And I was kind of stuck in this cycle of constantly working. And that was my only pleasure thing because being around people on my day, like my one day off or whatever, sometimes it was so debilitating for me because I already had all of these other things going on at the same time that it was just like a way for me to get a release and chase that dopamine.
Mm,
But now I know how to do that in more natural ways, which is quite interesting as well. Or I regulate my nervous system with Chinese medicine exercises in the morning, or breath work, or somatic release in the evening, and yin yoga, and all sorts of things. Like, it's amazing.
mm,
Like, it's still the same thing in a way. Like, I'm still getting my dopamine from the sun, or going outside, or playing with Frank. But it's different because it's my value system that's placed on it. And it was always my value system that was placed on it. I just had a different education at the time that I was choosing those things. And I didn't really see that there was another way, basically.
mm. And the who you were surrounding yourself with as well. Like that was obviously, enabling that behavior because you didn't have that intuitive connection to yourself at the time. And like you were just saying, like all these practices you do now, like they're so juicy. I think about when you were just saying them, the feeling you get after meditation, when you're exercising, when you're on the beach, all these beautiful things. Like if only more people knew how amazing that can feel naturally without turning to the alcohol, the stimulants, even the caffeine, the gambling, like all of those things. Like I love that you now have journeyed that. And like you said, it's polarity. You needed to journey that to then get to the other side. It's the same thing with me. Everything I've journeyed, depression and binge eating, all of the things. I would not be the person I am now without journeying it. So yeah, I love, and it builds that trust too with people. Like if you can do it, I can do it too. You're not just some person that was born, you know, on a lotus flower, knowing this stuff. Like you've
Yeah.
learned that you've done the hard yards and you've come out the other side. And no one's ever perfect, but you know what it's like to live the opposite of that,
Mm,
of what you live now.
I completely agree with all of that. And that's the thing. It's just like, I think the thing that I really try to come back to is that everything has place and purpose in that's gotten us from where we were born to where we are now, sharing ourselves in order to hopefully help others, even just by osmosis, essentially. Like, they're seeing what we've done, so it shows them, oh well, maybe like it is possible for me. Like, it just adds
Mm,
that question mark. It doesn't have to be, oh, I'm going to do that and that's going to change my life. That's not really the point here, because everybody has their own different recipe to this. Like,
mm,
mine could be the beach and sunshine, where someone else could be climbing mountains or something like that. Similar but different based on the person. But it's just like, it just gives that little bit of evidence to the fact that there's actually so much more here that's possible. And to be honest, like, if I went back to 2019 Jess and was like, oh my God, like, you would be living this low tox, no
yeah.
tox life, who eats organic and like doesn't really care about going like and socializing and clubbing and all these sorts of things. Like, I still love to go to like a beach rave, like a sober
Yeah.
beach rave or something like that. Like, I love to be that person, and I still love that party lifestyle. But it's just like, if I hadn't have gone through this and had this kind of like, it been so down in the dumps with myself as somebody who was relying on those things, and then being shown like a nugget of one piece of information that could potentially just change one little thing that would help my life.
Mm,
If I hadn't have experienced what it was like to be there and then now here, I wouldn't believe in myself.
yes.
Like, it's just, you transformation stories get us because it's like, what? Like,
Mm,
humans is so incredible. We are amazing. But
mhm,
society just doesn't want us to realize how incredible we are for a multitude of different reasons. There's more people who are wanting to see that and wanting to share their light and show you, if I can do this, you can do this too. Let's go. But
mhm,
throughout us growing up, especially, like, that time was quite different to, the amount of information we have on everything now. Like, spirituality, like, if I read my horoscope out in the work office at work, I would get side-eyed and laughed at the same time as people going, oh, can you read mine for me? Like, like, everybody
yes,
wants to get in on it, but at the same time we're so like good at tall poppy syndrome. Like, I'm
yeah.
gotta be the best at this, but also, like, nobody can be better than everyone else. Like, it's just like a crazy matrix of sorts, like what
Yeah,
we.
like you said, sometimes like our intuition, which we're going to go into more of soon, is our intuition wants to know that. Like you said, when someone's reading out the horoscope, it's like inside you're like, I want to know mine. But you
Yeah.
also don't want to like share that to the world because that might be embarrassing. There's a stigma behind it. I used to be the same. I was like a closet, you know, I closeted my spirituality, but now it's just like I scream it from the rooftops, even though my family might not fully get it. My dad definitely doesn't get it. There's still people around me that, don't get it. But it's surprising that when you do start speaking in this way, it does captures people's attention. Other people do go, "Oh, that's really interesting." I remember having a job a few years ago, and it was a very stock. I was in real estate, very stock standard office job, and instead of hiding this intuition that I had or this spirituality, I started talking about it just openly. I was like, I'm not going to hide this anymore because I don't want to hide this part. It's very draining to hide this part and to be this. So I just started talking about it, and then actually just started opening conversations. And then people start accepting you for that, even though they don't fully understand it. They might not fully get it. But I was like, I just want to be myself. I just want to
Yeah,
talk about the things. I want to talk about, spirituality. I want to talk about, whatever, your energy today, all of those things. So I think the more you do that, the more, you just learn that you're okay on yourself, and whatever judgment you're going to get is okay too.
absolutely. And I think sometimes, well, more now more than ever, like when I feel like someone else is judging me, which we discussed a little bit yesterday leading up to the
Mm,
podcast, it's actually my responsibility to understand, why do I feel that in my body? Like that could
mm,
have been anybody that, like, they could have been thinking a totally different thing. We have a whole world of information going on in our own brains.
mm.
Like I could be staring straight at someone and they could get the reflection of, oh, that person's judging me. I could be staring off into space thinking about Frank at the
Yeah,
beach or
exactly.
something. You never know. But our bodies are these living libraries of our experience. And so those feelings still need to be validated.
Mm,
And but yeah, I really get the judgment thing as well. But at the same time, like the moment that you start like speaking it out loud, you really find your people. And I think that's been the
yeah.
coolest thing about this, was seeing that the life that I lived before and the people that I hung around. And gosh, like it was hard letting go of those people. I'm not gonna lie, like the work is work. And
Mm,
sometimes you have moments where you're like, is this all really worth it? I promise you it is, 100% guarantee, but you just gotta keep pushing through and keeps finding those little nuggets of light. But yeah, the more that I kept trying to find what was true to myself and my heart and just speaking it when it felt appropriate without pushing or force, there was definitely a period where I'd be like, "Oh my god, I just learnt this thing. Everybody must know about it." And I'd tell
yes, I think we all
everybody
went
like,
through that.
we've
Mm,
and you gotta, that's how you learn. But yeah, I think it's just so interesting because then all of a sudden you're surrounded by people who are speaking the same language as you,
mm-hmm.
whether it be spirituality or like astrology or human design or however it might present, or even wellness. Like sometimes when people talk to me about like organic fruit and veg, I'm just like, you are my people. Oh, I
Yes,
love it. Like it's just
same.
the little, and you're just like, I never really realized there was a whole world of people outside of the where I was living
Mm-hmm.
that are aligned with the true things that I actually really enjoy.
Yeah, how comforting is
It's
it? Because you
so
you
cool.
naturally shed, as you're doing this work and you're coming back to yourself, you naturally shed, people, relationships, friendships, and then it opens you up. The more you're yourself, it opens you up. Or you become a magnet for people similar. I'm the same. Like if I years ago, I dreamt of the friendships, the connections, the communities that I've created, and but I always felt alone, or I couldn't fully express myself because I wasn't surrounded by the people. Like I wasn't
Uh,
surrounded by, like you said, someone that's talking about organic fruit and veg. I was the only person talking about organic fruit and veg. People were like, that's too expensive. I shop at the
yeah.
supermarket and I get the cheapest thing possible. Like it was just, I'm like, okay. And then when I, changed my environment, changed up, who I was surrounding myself with, I'm like, oh my God, there's other people that talk about this. There's other
And they
people
get
that
it.
feel, yeah, they get it. They understand it. Like it's like the most comforting feeling ever, but you've just got to find your people.
Just got to be open to it and just
Hmm.
trust that eventually, like, there's definitely periods where being alone happen, but they're also
Yeah.
just as good for you as the times where you're full, like abundant with people who really get you and things like that. Everything adds to the bigger picture. It's just something that, as a mantra, that I just keep telling myself through those times, just to try and like, everything's just about zooming out and seeing this from a bigger perspective, I suppose. Because
Yeah.
essentially, if you choose to believe it and you're on a spiritual path, you've got a higher self, and you've got to trust that your higher self's your G and that she's or he has you and wants the best and highest thing for you. So there's a plan up here. There's a whole plan happening. And we're just down here, little humans, really stuck in our feelings, which is why we're here. We're here to feel. And sometimes we're like, oh, this is the worst thing ever. Why does everything always happen to me? Can't tell you how many
Mhm.
times I've said that in my life. But now I get to have this perspective shift because of those times, or because of the times of being alone and having to find my own rhyme and reason for things, where I go, oh, wow, if I just zoom out a little bit, I reckon there's like some level of perfection here that I'm not seeing. And it's my job to go digging for that, because higher self's already got it sorted out. She's sitting out there laughing. Ha 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 ha, silly little human. What do you think's going to happen? You're going to grow from
Yeah.
this. That's what's happening. So,
Mm. Let's talk about that higher self. For people,
yeah.
I mean, I talk about it a lot, but for someone who doesn't really know that concept just yet,
Mhm.
what's your interpretation of it? When you talk about your higher self and how you ultimately get closer to her?
It's for me, it's been a slow burn, I'm gonna be honest, because at the same time I was learning, integrating all of this information. I knew she was there, but more recently I've really developed this kind of friendship and love of my higher self. So essentially, if you choose to believe it, because everything's a choice and a buy-in, and if you don't resonate with this, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Something is here to serve you. Um, but your higher self is essentially the version of you that is your best and highest version, the one that's figured everything out. And so I always tell people that, like, nothing's really set in stone in the future. There's definitely a plan, but your free will choices in the moment determine what comes next. And you can go a multitude of different ways. Like, there's a version of me that probably never gave up drinking, if you know what I mean. And
Mhm.
that version of me lives somewhere, and higher self's looking over her too. But the main one is here and now, and she's working with me directly. If you're here and now, your higher self has got a plan. And so we receive signs, synchronicities, all sorts of things orchestrated by our guides and our higher self. But the higher self is actually a version of you that can just see everything from like a zoomed out blueprint perspective. And she's got a wealth of knowledge. If you ever need an answer to a question, generally yes or no answers, because our body is kind
Mhm.
of like a human lie detector, and we can get yes and no's just from the sway of our body. And
Mhm.
so you can connect in and just get some guidance, or just feel like somebody's there in support of you. It's essentially just an energy. It's different to source or God, that a lot of people will refer to as well, the creator of all things. It's your own personal, like, spirit guide, but it's you. It's you at your most fully embodied. It's future you, it's past you, but she's just always kind of got her finger on the pulse. And if something is awry, she would be seeing it as perfect, because she's helped plan it for your
Mm.
growth. Everything on this planet, as a human being in Earth School, which is what a lot of the spiritual community will call it, because we're here to learn and we're
Mhm.
here to feel and express and overcome ourselves to come back to neutrality, or just the self, like being embodied in our own self and choosing things from free will and choice. So, yeah, she's there. I just think that she's got me now. And the more I remind myself of that, and the more that I go through hard times and then see on the other side, in hindsight and reflection, looking back and asking myself, okay, yeah, it sucked. It brought up all these feelings, but why is that perfect? Oh, well, if I'm feeling feelings, I'm probably shifting energy. I'm moving through old stories that aren't the truth, that are probably inhibiting me from seeing my greatest potential. And all she wants to do is see me live my best life ever. So if I'm
Mm.
working together with her, I just have to trust that as long as I'm my most best self in this now moment, which every day I set the intention to be my most present and authentic version of myself. So I also have to trust that my intentions mean something, because they mean something to me. They're basically prayers, but I always say I set the intention at the start, because I feels like the energy is solidified there. But yeah, essentially she's just you who's got it all figured out, who's energetically helping you like a spirit guide. Um, but yeah, she's just all over it. But they also orchestrate, your guides and your higher self can orchestrate a lot of the obstacles we experience. But working with her, and the more that you understand energy, the more that you can kind of streamline through a lot of the things and see things a little bit differently from
Mm.
that sort of hindsight perspective, but in the now moment, instead of, Well, you can instead of getting totally thrown off the path by something that's really upset you, you can kind of come back to yourself and go, I trust that this is somehow for me. I'm still going to allow this to suck right now because I'm a human. But at the same time, I also trust that she's got me every time we've overcome something. It hasn't been wrong. So why would this be any different? And reminding
Yeah.
yourself of those things then makes it true. And then you get more evidence via synchronicity and things working out magically that something's happening there. So that would be how I would describe that. It's probably a bit long.
Yeah, I love no, not at all. I love that with the women that I work with, we create a visual picture of our higher self, right? So we get so super clear on what she looks like. You know, she's in the body, she's in the energy, she's in the clothes, she's presenting herself the way, you know, her high, like the best version of herself. Her thoughts, her behaviors, her habits, her rituals. We get so super clear and dialed in on her. Do you have some kind of visual representation of your higher self? Is that how you do it? Or and also how do you communicate with her? Like you said, it's not God or source. So you're not asking, or are you asking for signs?
I don't necessarily ask for signs from my higher self. However, I do interpret things that I perceive as signs. So it's a little
Hmm.
bit different. Sometimes when you ask for a sign, your guides are very tricky and they love to get a lesson. And so they don't care how it happens, they just want you to grow. And so sometimes I've found with that, that can be a bit turbulent. And
Hmm.
so when it comes to higher self, well, firstly, going back to how do I visualize her, we do a lot of visualization in Reiki and things. That was probably when I was first exposed to guides and my higher self. And it's a similar sort of process. Like it's your most embodied future version of yourself that's kind of like spiritually infused. And so when I see my higher self, I see this beautiful, like waves of golden hair. She looks like a Grecian goddess, and there's just like emanating gold light behind her. And she kind of can look a little bit different day to day depending on when I tune in and what kind of I'm feeling for the day, but generally her vibe is goddess illuminated by golden light kind of thing. But it's me, but in my most like glam bot, like on the red carpet kind of vibe.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's like everything. And also it's inspiring to me because some days as well, physiologically, like when you stand up straighter, you feel more confident and things like that. Connecting into her kind of gives me a little bit of that in real time. Like, you know, I never used to brush my hair. I never used to care about like handwriting and all sorts of things. I cared about makeup, but more from an insecure place. Whereas now, when I do my hair in the morning, like, or if I curl it the night before with like heatless curlers and things, and I wake up, like, I just feel more in connection with my higher self from doing devotions of love, which I feel like she's kind of taught me from being this beacon of beauty and grace and all of these sorts of things. So
Mm.
connecting with her initially started via higher self meditations and just having those visual practices, asking her for guidance in those meditative states and just being curious, like trying not to control the answer, trying not to get an answer that I wanted, but being open to what would be presented. So some things would be a bit more ambiguous, like, you know, speak your truth today, or, you know, you've already got everything you need. That's one I get a lot from higher self is, oh, you've already got everything you need. And I'm like, thanks.
Mhm.
I'm in the middle of this shit storm. Sorry if it's not swearing, but I'm in the middle of this
That's all right.
storm here and I'm wanting you to help me get out of this, but I've already got everything I need. What am I supposed to do with that? You know, so like we have a bit of that relationship going on because I'm sassy. So I assume, and she might not be, but I assume she's sassy too. So we have those moments together. Now, more so from an intuition lens, I
Mhm.
connect to her daily through my morning practice. So I do morning energy work every single day to set the tone with myself and know that my energy is mine, your energy is yours, and I'm with my beings and people, and I'm clear of everybody else's stuff. And when I connect with her that way, instead of, I can ask her for guidance, and more often than not, I will receive some sort of knowing or a sentence or a feeling of, here is what the guidance is for the day. Sometimes it's about asking yes or no questions. Should I do this today? Seeing how that feels in my body. Should I go here? Should I do that? And just kind of exploring that with like visualization and just asking myself questions. But then other times you get random animals doing stuff that you can't explain. And you're like, higher self, what does this mean? And it's really interesting what can come up in those moments because you're really, like, at the mercy of the universe in this respect. Like, I've had birds fly into my apartment multiple different times over the course of a couple of months, and it's just like, "Why is this happening, higher self?" Or,
Yes.
like, you'll go to the beach and there'll be butterflies flying out from
Mhm.
everywhere, and so higher self, this is a sign of transformation, so everything should be done in statements from the way that I've learnt things, because if you ask a question, it kind of is a little bit less direct, where energy works with direct statements more so than anything. So you can still ask yes and no questions, but instead of being like, should I do this? You're like, I should do this, or this means transformation. And then you feel, is that a yes or is that a no? And so that's how I would communicate with her now. And more often than not, especially when it comes to decisions of the future. Like, I guess for me along the journey, one thing that was really important to learn along the way, which I'm sure a lot of us experience, is boundaries. And so when
Mm.
it comes to actually feeling into, should I do this social event? Should I go and see family today? And I love prioritizing family. They have been my biggest teachers in this life, but I do like to also be open to that when the timing feels right. So should I be open to this today? And sometimes you get a no, and then you have to rationalize with your human and go, but it's okay because we're prioritizing ourselves and it's going to
Not
be
people
fine and
pleasing.
highest and not people pleasing. And that's where we've come from. And that's what we're trying to rectify because we're going to new heights and new versions of ourselves and higher self. If I believe myself to be true, has always got me. So if she's always got me and she said to me, it's not the right time to go and do this, and I trust it and I see from myself, it's all about being present in the moment, which is why meditation's so important because in the moment you can chat, like ask yourself these questions. So I've said no to this thing. Now I'm having all of these feelings of people pleasing and judging myself for letting everybody down coming up. And so, okay, well, am I actually letting everybody down? The answer universally from a source perspective would be no, because you're not letting everybody down. You can't let 8 billion people down in the world just because you said no to one event, right?
Mm.
And then also, as well, you look at it from an energy perspective. If I'm putting myself first in this moment and that fills my cup, the time that I say yes is going to be so much more powerful. They're going to get the best of me. Like, it's going to be way more aligned. We're going to have so much fun. I'm going to see from both examples, higher self just knew what was up. I just was questioning it the whole time because I'm human. But then I get to the after the moment where I actually go and do it when it's the right time. And I'm like, oh, cool. I have all this evidence that speaking to my higher self, like I'm using air quotes here because at one point I didn't believe any of this.
Yeah.
Speaking to my higher self, like, is on. And then now I'm being led in the right direction. And I feel better and stronger and more confident in myself because of it. Isn't that some kind of
Mm.
magic?
Yeah. And then,
Yes.
like, yeah, trusting that it's all unfolding exactly as it's meant to, and
Mm,
and on its timeline. Like sometimes, even just in this podcast today, I get frustrated when I've got tech issues and I have to reschedule, and then all of a sudden I'll reschedule to another time, and then it's like the best interview ever, and I was like, that's why it didn't work before. Instead of being like, oh my gosh, and like you said, like the birds flying in, the butterflies when you're at the beach, like I love that so much. Like when I see the same thing everywhere, I'm like, oh, what is that? Like, yeah, higher self, what is that showing me right now?
yeah.
It might be to slow down. It might be to speed up or go towards my goals. Like, I love that if we see life in that way, it just literally changes everything. So everything that we might be frustrated at, even our kids triggering us, like everything is literally unfolding it and showing us something.
Yeah.
For the woman, so when you say we already have the answers within us, some people might feel like that's really far fetched, right? Like that's a very, very hard thing to concept. Why do you think so many women struggle to trust their own intuition?
Well, I used to be one of them, and I used to be one of those people who would call my mother like 20 times a day to ask her questions about what I should do in my day,
Mm-hmm.
all day, every day. Like, what a saint to put up with that, but also
Yeah.
as well, like, what an interesting paradox to be an adult in society and feel like I need to outsource and ask somebody else questions about what I want to do. So I really understand that lack of confidence, that nervous system, to me, it was nervous system dysregulation that would populate every time I came up to a decision because of the people pleasing, because,
Mm.
letting people down is so difficult. Like, and you think that every which way you turn, for me, it was a control thing as well. Like, if I could just control the narrative of the way people saw me by just doing what everyone thought was the best thing that I should do, like, I would be safe. I'm safe. Everything's about being safe in this life. So that would be one facet of what pulls us away from our intuition. We think that somebody else has the answers better than us. And truthfully, like, I've really gone down that rabbit hole by trial and error and really tried to get someone else to give me the right answers. And even in as recent as like 2022 and things, every single time I did it, the universe, my guides and higher self would humble me with an experience that was so crushing that would make me never want to ask anybody else for advice ever again.
Yeah.
So, in short, the things that take us away from our intuition are everywhere. We see so many different things about all day, every day that make us not trust ourselves. And then once we have this kind of little nugget of not trusting ourselves and we get more evidence to the fact of we shouldn't trust ourselves, it piles on and piles on and piles on. It can look so many different ways. The main one that comes up for me at this present moment, for example, and everybody's different, and this is no tea, no shade. I've had Botox at one point in my life. It's not something I'd choose now, but at the time, it's marketed so well, it's a way to control your face. But
Mm.
if my intuition, or if I was to ask my intuition, should I do that? Like, no, I'm putting like something in my face, things like that. And so, but there's so much information out there that tells you why you should do it and that you should do it. And then we go to school and like a teacher's telling us information and they're the right ones and we're not the right ones. So if we get it wrong, we're wrong and we get in trouble. Like all sorts of different things are happening all throughout our life that make us go, oh, somebody else is the authority. Somebody else has
Mhm.
the answers. And if we don't follow that, we're in trouble. And it kind of just it can build up many different ways. It's kind of interesting, but a lot of us would have experienced this along our journey to come back to ourselves to have these answers. So it really can depend depending on the person, but a lot of our stuff comes from childhood as well. Anything up until the age of 7 kind of sets our energy for the way that we make choices for the rest of time. And then being at school, I think as much as having an education and learning about things is super important, I think that I'll always be a student of life. I think that being graded and being like told, "Oh, you are this smart if you get this, and if you are
Mhm.
not if you don't." I think even just saying that now, like I feel a little bit of doubt in my body that makes me go, "Oh God, like maybe there's something there for me to explore with that." Because it's just like it's just little by little, day by day. It's just could be a little flick of doubt that builds up over time. And then you're like, how can I trust myself? That time that I chose this, not realizing I chose this out of emotion or the fact that I saw 50 ads for the thing or whatever it might be, the time that I chose this and then everything went wrong, like I was the one that was driving that. Like, if I was at one point through my spiritual awakening, I looked back on every choice that I made when I was drinking, like what I did to my body, and I really punished myself for it. But like we've said, all of that was perfect and it all had a place in this. It was just about coming back to myself. But yeah, I think it's multifaceted. But at the end of the day, there's so many things, especially like narratives around women from all different types of society. There's even with men, it's kind of everywhere, and everybody's maybe enabling it here and there in their language and the way that we say, oh, this person can have this, but I can't. Like, there's so many different pieces to this web that just make us go, how am
Yeah.
I ever supposed to know what to do for myself? And then you see courses of things of this is the only way to get from 0 to $10 billion. And then it's like, oh, but this person over here is like, this is the only way to
I
get from 0 to $10
know.
billion. And it's just like, what answer, like in that respect, like what answer do I take? Like, and
But I
it
love
comes,
I love oh,
yeah,
sorry, I was gonna say, I
no,
love that you
please.
come back to yourself, like, you come back to that stillness, that silence, that meditation, the visualization, like, that's when we, get rid of all the noise around us, right? Like, and that's what, I always say to women that I work with as well, like, even when it comes to what food to eat and how to move and all of those things, like, it comes back to what works for you, not what everyone else is saying the answer is and the perfect diet and like all of these things. I love
Mm,
it so much. And I've had a beautiful reading with you earlier on this week. Was it this week?
okay.
I can't even
Uh,
remember what day it is.
it's
Yeah.
it was kind of over the weekend and
It was
earlier this
over the
week.
weekend, yeah,
Mm.
and it was beautiful, and I think I definitely fell into that trap of wanting answers, right? That eh, but you helped me bring it back to myself, something that was playing on my heart, that has been for a little bit. I loved what, you helped me come back to that neutral space and that self-trust which you were speaking about. For those who've never experienced one of your beautiful readings, you're not like a psychic, you're not like telling you everyone, who you're gonna marry and blah, blah, blah. Can you actually describe what's really happening on an energetic and intuitive level?
Yes, but I would like to come back to the psychic piece first because I have been a psychic, but I still always I watch a lot of like psychics on TikTok and all sorts of things.
Mhm.
And really, like, along the journey, like, you learn about timelines, you learn about the fact that, every choice can lead you in a different direction. So,
Yes.
and I've also had a lot of psychic readings done from being in psychic reading groups and all sorts of things. And I've learnt a lot in my experience from this because everything's a teacher, at least from my perspective. And so when it comes to psychic readings, and there's no tea, no shade, some of them can really give you the mirror and the information you need that will help you get to where you're going, even if it's a little bit turbulent, or like in my case, like being told I'd meet the love of my life like 2 years after I got this reading. And that was like 3 years ago,
Yeah.
things like that. And so, like, for me, from that level of experience, before I go into the way that I read first,
Mhm.
that for me, because I didn't have as much awareness as I have now, I went, oh my God, this is happening. It is set. I don't need to do nothing, no matter what choices I make right now. I kind of like reverted a little bit back to like drinking and gambling Jess days, but in a new way, where I was like,
Mm.
oh, well, I can just do whatever I want. I can like date the bad boy. Like, it's not going to affect my energy because this man's coming for me and all I need to do is wait. It's not necessarily the case. What happened in that respect from an energetic perspective, if you think about how I was talking about the little moments of doubt that
Mhm.
come in and create a big bubble of doubt, I created little moments of want. Every time I saw a couple, every time I saw something on a movie, I was like, oh, my man's coming for me. Then I'd be like, oh, universe, give me a sign. And then I'd see signs everywhere that told me, oh, my man's coming for me. This guy that's definitely in a situationship with me, he loves me, all this stuff. I would really gaslight myself and I'd
Yeah.
really embellish because I needed to learn this energy lesson. But I think our future is up to us. I think there's definitely predestined things that we're meant to experience, and those things are present in your heart. You feel them when you go to a psychic. Those are the questions that you want to know. Like, these things are really there for you as pieces of information that pull you forward on your soul's purpose for yourself. So, in a reading with me that would differ from when I was doing tarot or psychic readings. When I would do psychic readings, I would just connect for the best and highest good to your guides, to your higher self, and to source anyone who wanted to give me information about what I needed to know. And then I'd use the cards as validation to create the story. Not a bad tactic. Generally, with psychics and doing card readings and things like that, you have a 55% like success rate with the information that you're giving. That's been intuited by a mentor of mine in intuition now. So that's a source perspective of psychics everywhere of 55%.
Okay.
So when you're doing an intuitive reading the way that I've been trained to read them now, you're understanding and analyzing different energy fields. So, for example, we have a thought field. These are our thoughts that we're thinking on a daily basis. We can have like a collective thought field of like a community or like a country. Like, you can tap into those different energies and see how different people are thinking based on their thought fields. We have the source field directing us straight up to the G, the big G. Then we've got our higher self field, which is our higher self who has the perspective from birth to the end and knows the best way for us to get where we're going, i.e., me getting these psychic readings and going on this turbulent journey. Then we've also got our aura, which is our electromagnetic field. So, our electromagnetic field can also be called our creator field or our manifestation field, which is a combination of the thoughts that we think on a daily basis combined with emotions and energy that we've felt that then kind of dictates what we magnetize as an experience. So, understanding the different fields really helps you to connect into the different fields to know what information to pull in based on the questions that are being asked. There are also more fields of that, but those are kind of the main ones. And so,
Mhm.
when I'm in an intuitive read, firstly, I'm listening to the person. What are they saying? Are they using words like should, need, must, signs? What are they saying to me? And what am I feeling from the information that I know to be true about that? What are they trying to tell themselves about the experience that they're having? And what is the actual truth of the thing? And so I'm feeling into that energetically with my body, with my energy, with my certain specific intentional connections to certain fields. And then, depending on the questions, I'll break down what's been said. I'll ask for definitions. What is your definition of self love? Things like that. So then I can get accurate, like, statistics. Where are you at from 0 to 100 with how you're feeling with certain things? Because this is going to show us a lot of information. And so basically, I'm kind of taking these different fields, using specific statements and asking yes or no questions, and also gathering like visuals and what I'm feeling and all sorts of things that are happening in the now to put together the information that I then present to the client who's coming in for the reading. And so sometimes in that, there is definitely a lot of articulation from me of, okay, this is what I'm feeling. This is the kind of, this is where you're sitting with respect to this. This is the feeling that's wanting to be coming up. Do you feel like you're trying to, like, in chasing this or in following this, do you feel like there's a feeling there that you're wanting to experience? And if you are wanting to experience that from something outside of you,
Mhm.
where is there a place that you should be giving that to yourself and things like that? So it's more of like a deep excavation of like, oh, okay, cool. If this is showing me something outside of me, but I can give this to myself and I'm just not seeing where I can do that, how can we find a way to bridge the gap between what they're wanting to experience and how to give it to themselves? Because at the end of the day, with the intuitive readings, but also just in general being an energetic being in a human world, the main things that dictate what's going on in our energy, besides our thoughts and feelings and the choices that we make, is the way that we perceive ourselves. So, self image, like what
Mhm.
we think other people think of us and what we think other people think of us, like both of those, and what we also think of ourselves, as well as how we love ourselves. So, self love, which is a bit more of like a trendy word, but this is more showing you the relationship you have with yourself. So, for example, I get up every day and I make my bed. So that's for future me. I'm showing me, future me, love to myself because I'm making my bed. So later when I get back into it, it's all tucked and nice. I enjoy that really juicy feeling of sliding back into my bed. I did that for myself because I love myself. Now, this is
Mhm.
something I had to train myself to see, because if you're just doing things for the sake of doing them and you're not acknowledging yourself, you're really missing a lot of like where you can love yourself quite easily, or where you're already loving yourself, but you're just doing it as a task on your list. And I used to just do things as a task on my list and then had to do the flip. But basically, what to expect in a read with me would be, you can come to me with any question and I'll tap into the different fields. It's your information being presented to me in a way that I can mirror back to you what's going on. And hopefully, by asking you certain questions, I can show you how you can have your own realizations within yourself, because we all are intuitive. I've just trained it. I've just followed those nudges enough that gave me enough evidence to go, I'm happy to invest in an intuition course, and it also lights me up to do this. And then I
Mhm.
love sharing the information. So that's just me following what feels good. But we are all intuitive. There's a reason they talk about women's intuition, because we feel it more, because it's more innate in us as people who give birth and things. Like, it's just that natural connection we have to the world around us as women. Men have intuition too. We all have it. We
Mhm.
all have energy. We all have energetic fields. We can all feel the unspoken. It's just how much we've shut that off or told ourselves, oh no, horoscopes aren't real. That can't be possible. That kind of stops our reticular activating system from letting us pick up the signals as efficiently as we could if we just gave ourselves permission to it. Yeah.
Mm. Wow, there's so many layers to that.
There's
So
so
many layers.
it's I'm like, "How do we make this surface level? Let's just go deep." Blah, blah,
No, go
blah.
deep. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing. And yeah, if you can get an experience with Jess, because it is so great. Like I felt so light after our reading. And I loved it so much. I was actually, which leads me to the next question. I was telling you that I feel so connected to the universe at the moment. Like there are just signs and things happening. It's like I feel like I'm one big magnet. Like, and I'm walking around and I'm seeing things. And it's almost like it's overwhelming at times. Like I'm getting to the point where I'm laughing a lot. Like I see things, I see numbers, I see my signs, I see things happening. I see these like, I'll look outside and there'll be a shooting star. And I'm like, ha ha ha, like that's so
That's
funny.
a
Like
good
I
one.
feel yeah, like I feel very, very aligned, like to the point where it's almost like obscene. Like oh, it feels good, and I know that everything's unfolding exactly as it's meant to. Like it feels really good. That when you say you often speak about co-creating with the universe, which I guess that's what I just explained. What does that practically look like in a day-to-day life for someone trying to align with their higher self or universe?
Okay. Hmm. Co-creating with the universe is probably okay, how would I describe this? Yeah. Co-creating with the universe is not exactly just being like, "Higher self, like, show me that my man's gonna come in to, sweep me off my feet today."
Mm,
And it can happen that way, and that's incredible. But it's not necessarily being like, "Oh, higher self, show me this," and then I'm in alignment with it. It's all about aligning yourself with where you want to go. So you're working with the universe, you're working with source and higher self, you're working with your guides to get there. But you're also, as I keep saying, a human, a cute human. And we've got our brains, who is like the Raz is like a door and everything's just going on up here. So we want to work with the physical as well as the energetic to creation.
mhm.
So essentially, like for example, let's say that you want to attract love. Love's a hot topic, same as money. Similar but different. Essentially, there would be certain beliefs and energies that you have potentially picked up along the way. And the one that's just dropped in for me the most is there's no good men out there. You can only find men on dating apps. Like these stories that we have heard on Instagram, and then we iterate it to ourselves like a broken record. I personally believe the things that we say out loud send energy out into the universe that then comes back to us. So our words are like wands, they're magic spells, and they're really powerful.
Yes.
So use
Mhm.
them wisely. But the thing is, like, if you want to create love, but you don't love yourself, you're essentially trying to outsource to that person, which puts a lot of pressure on the universe and that person. And that's where how we get lessons from life experience, right? Like we've learned through relationship that we can't do that. We can't put all of our hopes and dreams on someone to give it the love and everything to us because we're in the want of them doing it and they're going to go from the law of opposing forces. Oh, I don't want to do that. Oh, yuck. Oh, like, oh my God. And so it's about kind of like reverse engineering your feelings. So, of want, of I want to feel love, and going, well, if I want to feel love, there are areas in my life where I'm probably not giving it to myself. So there's 8 areas of life that we can look into and statistically test and all of those sorts of things if you get down to the nitty-gritty of it. But essentially, like a question I always ask myself when I'm feeling a certain thing or I find myself in want, not desire, because desire is neutral and you just trust that's coming for you. When you're like, I need this or else I don't feel like I'm a complete person, there's a want there. So when there's
Mm.
that want, it's asking yourself, what do I want? And where am I not giving it to myself? And so, even in the smallest moments, like if we want to be prioritized by a partner, but we like jump out of bed, look at our phone to reply to a bunch of messages before we've done anything for ourselves, like we haven't done the morning routine, now we're full of dopamine. And then we're just like walking around all day trying to get someone else to feel that feeling that we didn't give to ourselves. Like that's us being in that want energy. So understanding that everything is a relationship with ourselves and that higher self in the universe is just guiding us back to that is kind of like step one, I guess. And then when we're feeling that feeling of, oh, I really want this love or I really want this money, What do you want the money for? I want the money so I have more freedom. Well, do you create freedom in your life? Can you give yourself an hour to be off your phone and maybe go down to the park and swing on some swings like a kid or something? Like really think outside the box and think, what is something that I could create that feeling now? Or where do I already have freedoms right now? It's 12:30 on a Thursday and we're sitting here having this beautiful conversation. That to me is freedom.
Hmm.
I could be at a 9 to 5 chained to a desk right now, but I'm not. I have freedom in my life. I'm so fortunate for that. So starting to just kind of bring yourself back to nothing is created or destroyed. Everything is already in front of me. It's the same as when you see things in your reality and you go, that is possible for me. It's because that's the evidence to show you that it's possible for you, if that makes sense. So it's all about understanding that it all comes back to our relationship with ourselves. And every time we externalize, which we're so naturally taught to do in this world, that's what keeps us kind of trapped, is that we think somebody else has the answers or someone else is going to be able to give us that thing. Where if we just start going, how can I give this to myself first in some small moment? How can I acknowledge myself? How can I go, oh, well, it's pretty lucky that I'm here right now and I get to do this, instead of being like, oh, I don't have enough. It's the same moment in time, but it's different perspective. And so it's all about, for me personally, I believe, training yourself to see that perspective or ask yourself enough questions to actually get to know yourself, to see, oh, what are the stories that I'm telling? Where does this story come from? Like a lot of mine come from before the age of 7. And it's the little me going, I want things to be my way and I hate that I can't control this. And so asking myself the question, like, for example, yesterday I experienced a moment with someone who I thought I saw that was that girl, but it wasn't in the end. But I felt all these feelings of judgment. So, walking myself through something like that, I don't want to feel that. I don't want to feel that in the presence of other women. So, if I feel judged by other women, where am I judging myself? Or where am I not feeling love for myself and feeling like there's something wrong here in this moment, and how can I see it as perfect? It's kind of always about reverse engineering it and coming back to, what am I not seeing about myself and why? Why am I telling myself this? And how can I choose, it's a choice, to see it a little bit differently if I can. Yeah. And so
Mm.
working with the universe with that, I constantly set intentions with my higher self. Like, even if I lose my keys, for example, like I'll be like, hi self, I set the intention for you to help guide me, to show me where my keys are, please. Or hi self, I'm feeling judgment of myself and other people today. Can you help me see, or help me set, I set the intention for you to help me to release my judgment and show me a way to love myself deeper today. It's interesting what can start to happen when you just start to play with, oh, I just got this wave of like, oh, here you go, want some love? It's amazing what you can start to do with your own words of intention and the power that you have, because they're there. They're guiding you, they're supporting you, but the ultimate creator is right here inside of your cute little human body. You've
Hmm.
just got to be the one to go, I am that, I can be that. If she has it, I know that I can do it too. And you just have to want it bad enough, I think.
Yeah, I love that. And one thing you taught me, and I remember it all the time, like I keep remembering it over the days, is how is this perfect? Even if you
Yeah.
don't have the thing that you're desiring, like, how is this perfect that I don't have it right now? How is it
Hmm.
perfect that I've just gone out for a run and it's raining? How is it perfect that my tire just went flat on my car? Like you know, it could, because it's stopping me from, it could potentially be stopping me from a car accident later on. Like, I love that. Like, when you look things at, like, you change your perspective of things, of being like, oh my God, why is this happening to me? Like, why is this happening now? No, it's like, how is this perfect?
Hmm. I I really appreciate you and I love you so much. And I love that it's literally something I tell myself all the time. And because it's something I tell myself and ask myself all the time, it then is shared with others because it's quite powerful, right? And so
Mm,
I like to think about it, like you said, about the flat tire thing, or like, why is this happening to me? The amount of times I've said, why does everything always happen to me? Like, I've been there, I've lived that. That story never got me anywhere and it never helped
mhm.
me feel better. It just made me go, gosh, I will always blame someone else. And I hate the sound of my whingy voice when I do it. Like,
Yeah.
but I also love myself and I love my whingy voice and everything is perfect. Sometimes I will stop myself and say things like that just to have a moment of self
Well,
love
you
with
do. You have
myself.
to
Yeah.
correct. We're not perfect. We're never going to, like, I corrected myself this morning. I said, I am not good at, no, I'm not that I'm not good at this. I am learning to be good at
Mm-hmm.
this. Like, you
Yeah.
have to stop yourself all the time. We are never perfect. We're never going to say the perfect words. We're never going to have it all figured out. So I love that.
Mm-hmm. I love it too. And so with the everything is perfect thing, I've had people be very triggered by this and go, well, how do you explain war in the other countries and all these sorts of
Mm,
things? And the thing is that you have to trust in some respect. And I say this with so much love. And if anyone is triggered by this, like, just ask yourself why. Because yes, there's a lot of things going on, but if you think about light and dark, there's got to be the balance of both. And eventually light will be everything I truly believe. But this is just a moment in time and it's uncomfortable. But in terms of finding it for yourself first and understanding that everything is perfect and you're just the one who's got to see it, you start to neutralize because essentially, like being emotional and being like, I hate XYZ, the same amount of people have to love XYZ, and there's always going to be this clash. Whereas if you can see both perspectives, you can start to feel a little bit more whole within yourself and go, okay, cool. I see that. I don't have to agree with it to also understand la la la, but
hmm
it stops you from feeling that full on energetic charge of like, I need to get validation. I need to feel better about this. This is the worst thing that's ever happened. Da, 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 da. Like, definitely feel those feelings out. They come from a real place, but especially when it comes to things we want or like love, especially, right? Like, why is it perfect that, because as a middle 30s-year-old woman, the amount of narratives that come up from the things that I learned as a child, this is a
hmm
tangent, but I'm going to go with it. The amount of things I learned as a child that was like, oh, if you're above the age of 25, you're essentially like a spinster. Like on Bridgerton, they say that you're on the shelf. Like, all these narratives come up from society. That's this collective consciousness of why that's something wrong with you. Da, 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 da.
hmm
So I've had to ask myself this question a lot, and I journal it almost every day. So when I'm finding myself in the want for something, or I'm just finding myself struggling to understand something that's happened in my life, like past relationships, for example, and this is how you start to do the energy work within you. You can create a T chart of like a past relationship. Because probably, if you're anything like me, you pedestaled them. You thought that they were perfect. And then slowly over time, the universe showed you that they weren't. But you still had this deep seated belief that they were perfect from the initial moments where you're like, they're the best thing that's ever happened to me. They're going to fill all my wants, dreams, and desires. Ah! And so to neutralize that energy back to a center point of, it just happened for me for a reason. You can level it out. Oh, what were all the good things about it happening? What were all the bad things about it happening? Then I started to realize, gosh, there were so many places I was gaslighting myself. Like, and everyone is perfect for the right person. It's just that those people weren't perfect for me. But I was telling myself like things that would annoy me about them. I would be like, oh no, I like it because da 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 when I didn't. And so it just
Mm,
helps you neutralize yourself back to that point where you don't need to hate people. You don't need to love everybody, but you get to go, oh, I see why that was perfect. And so we do it a lot because we pedestal a lot of things. We think if we just have $1 million, we're going to be so happy. But if you're not happy now with the way that things are now, you're not going to be happy then. But you just don't know that yet because you haven't experienced the $1 million finding its way into your life. Or if
mm,
I have love, I'm going to be so much more fulfilled and I'm going to be so much more adventurous. But why would you be any different to what you are now? Similar sort of thing. So I journal this. I ask myself firstly, what is it that I want? I want this love. I want this love, this relationship, this brand new car. Why is it perfect that I don't already have it? Then you start to explore. You really have to get creative with this. And I can feel the resistance of some people coming up and going, oh, well, aren't I just like putting myself in a negative headspace? And it's like, I guess if you want to look at it like that, you can say that you're putting yourself in a negative headspace, yes, but it's all about neutralizing the energetic charge from within in your body that
mm,
makes you stop feeling like you need and or want something. And it starts to make you go, oh, like maybe I still want it. Maybe I still desire it, but I don't need it and my life's already perfect the way that it is. And it starts to make you go, similar to how we've been talking a lot on this episode, when you're in the present moment of the now,
Hmm.
instead of it pulling you away and going, like you see a couple on the street and you go, oh, like this is definitely something I've experienced. Oh, like I'm just so angry that I don't have that already. You start to go, oh, isn't it so nice that that's in my universe? That means it's a sign for me. Like, how cool is that? And instead of
Yeah.
feeling in that want all the time and that lack of, why hasn't this happened to me already? You start to rationalize with yourself and see why, oh, well, now not having a relationship, I have all this time to be on this amazing podcast or be at the beach with Frank, or I only have to cook for one person, which is so nice because I get to eat whatever I want. I don't have to take in anyone else's diet stuff. You get really creative. And it's not to say that you don't want those things, and it definitely doesn't pull you away from it. If anything, it makes you more of a magnet because you've stopped putting all of that want out into the world and you start going, gosh, I'm just so happy with my life exactly the way that it
Gratitude.
is.
It's the
Yeah.
gratitude of what you do have and not the lack of what you don't. Like that is like
Yeah.
when you dial it in and yeah, and be like, well, what do I have right now? Like that is
Mm,
just like so incredibly powerful. And one thing that you were saying, like when you see the couple on the street that are like, affectionate, it's like that's the driftwood, right? Like that's driftwood of like, that's what's possible for me too. It's not like, I wish I had that. And why don't I have that? It's like, oh, that is so beautiful. Like when I see an elderly couple on the street holding hands, it's like, oh, thank you. Thank you for showing me. That's what I desire. And it's like, it's possible for me too. It's possible. Like I want to write a book. So I look at all the authors and go, that's possible for me too. Sorry,
absolutely.
I'm not wanting to write a book. I am writing a book. Like there's a little reframe. And it's
That's
like all
it.
the things on the vision board. It's like that's driftwood. That's people that have already accomplished what you want and what you desire. Again, correction.
I love
And
it.
yeah, and then that's how I just love this conversation so much because that's how we can get out of this overwhelmed, negative, disconnected from self, relying on the stimulus like you used to in the past. That's how we get out of that state. And that's how we get into like the most beautiful, like abundant, like magnetic state. Like I love this conversation so much. We have been talking for so long, by the way.
Yeah. I
This is
do. I do love a chat.
it's been amazing. You've offered so much, like so much. Even just little tools like that you've just dabbled throughout as well. Like I love it. And I encourage everyone to, even if you need to, go back with a pen and note those things down. Like the little T chart, I think is so great. That self, the curiosity with the self inquiry of asking those questions when you see something or you're triggered or what's this showing me? Like I love it all. Let's finish off on this question, Jess.
Okay.
For the woman listening right now who knows she's meant for more, because I can relate to this, I'm sure you could too back in the day, but feels scared to leap or trust herself or let go, what message would you share with her right now?
Mm, I'm just going to sit with this for a moment.
Go for it.
For the woman listening right now that feels ready to take the leap and just go for everything that they want, I would tell them that they're probably already doing it in ways that they're just not recognizing, and to start seeing that, as well as to start noticing those times in your now moment, because everything's right now. Like everything
Mm-hmm.
that you're going through is right now. So if you come up to a choice, if you can, I always allow myself to sleep on the choice. So then I know that I'm not coming from like an emotional place. But if you can just ask yourself, okay, cool, is this something that I really want to do? And at the end of my life, if I looked back, would I regret not doing this? You have to encourage and acknowledge yourself in pushing past that to say yes. You're the only person who decides whether you say yes or not. You can ask other people till the cows come home, but I promise you, I've lived that, and it isn't the same as choosing it for yourself. And the more that you overcome yourself and say yes to the things that your heart is already like screaming yes to, the more that you'll want to do that and the more that you'll step outside of yourself to do it. But if you're sitting there thinking, I'm not confident enough to do this, or I've never done anything like this before, there is probably evidence in your life from the time you were born to now where you've done it. Go back and look at those examples and pull from that. You're already the baddest baddie out there and you've got all of the makings to do it. You just have to look within yourself and go, what qualities do I have that means that I can do this? Like, start asking yourself more empowering questions and find those gold nuggets within you, because we all have incredible capabilities to reach for the stars in
Mm-hmm.
any right that feels aligned and heart led, not from a want or a I need to feel this within me, but from a I just really feel like I need to do this. And so, anytime that your heart is saying yes to something like that, the more that you can give yourself permission to say yes, the more you will give yourself permission to say yes. So, just start trying to find, even if it's small moments like, oh, normally I'd make myself a coffee at home today, but I really feel like getting one from the beach. Just being present to the fact that you're choosing that and you're overcoming yourself from the norm of what you would normally do. All of those little bits count. We just don't acknowledge them enough to farm that energy and information from that to really like
Mm,
believe in
and
ourselves.
yeah,
So,
and follow that feeling or that little nudge. Yeah, I love that so much. And if it's in your awareness or if it's in your vision or it's calling you, it's like there for a reason. Like it's
uh-huh.
absolutely there for a reason. It's not just because it's in fantasy land. It's like it's there for you. And you know, like you said, if you're on your deathbed and you hadn't achieved this, like how would you feel? I know I'd be so disappointed. Like I always want to run a podcast and you know, I'd be so disappointed if I didn't have this right now. I'd be communicating with and connecting with women like you. Like, yeah, it's taking a leap and just trusting that it will all unfold because it will all unfold.
I always try to quickly think of two versions of me when I'm making decisions like this.
Mm-hmm.
80-year-old me and little me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what would they want to do? What would they be proud of? What would they be excited by? And just, knowing that they're always with you, like, just go for it. Just do
Yeah.
it. You can do it, and every little bit counts. I always tell myself every single day, every little bit counts. If it's just one mantra you take away from this whole conversation, every little bit counts. It doesn't have to be every single day consistency like we've discussed. Just needs to be, I'm choosing myself today, and if this is the only day I choose myself this week, it's still better than the people who never choose themselves.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. Yes, again, just leaning into what is working, all your gratitude. I love it, love it, love it. Jez, thank you so much for this conversation. For people who are intrigued by what you do and the work that you offer this beautiful world, how can we reach out to you? What's the best way to reach out?
So the best way for me at the moment would be either on TikTok or probably Instagram. So at Jessica Jade Patterson is my handle for both of those. Double Terson for Patterson. And I have my offer available on Calendly, or we can DM and have a little discussion around your intentions and what you want to do for the session if you feel called to work with me. So it includes energy work and energy healing as well as the physical tools. So you get 100% of both, and hopefully come out with a little bit more like joie de vivre, confidence within yourself. And yeah, feel free to message me about any of that. But I would say that's where you find me. And then I've also got my podcast, which has been in a little bit of a hiatus. It's called Rebirth Era, and I will be rebirthing it in the Chinese New Year of the Year of the Horse. So stay tuned for that. Yeah.
I love that. I'll link to all that in the show notes. But yeah, definitely pop over and have a conversation. Your readings are amazing. I was crying for days in a good way, a releasing way. Like they are so beautiful. I just think what you offer and what you do in this world is just so beautiful. So keep
Thank
being
you.
you. And I'm so glad that past Jess, the one that was, doing the things that she was doing, got through and came out the other side and doing what you're doing because we need more of you in this world.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I've loved this.
If this conversation sparks something inside you, if you're feeling that little nudge that says, I'm ready for more, then my 90-minute private one-on-one coaching sessions might be exactly what you need. These sessions are a really powerful space where we go deep together. We look at what's actually holding you back. what your body and mind are asking for, and we map out a clear, personalized path forward so you can start feeling confident, aligned, and truly amazing in your body again. This is not just a chat. This is a focused, transformational session where you get my full support and guidance tailored specifically to you. And because integration is where real change happens, you'll also receive 7 days of WhatsApp support after our call, so you're not left trying to figure things out alone. I do keep these sessions very limited each month because I want to be able to give each woman my full energy and attention. So if this is calling you, I encourage you to grab a spot while they're available. You can find the booking link in the show notes. For all the notes from today's episode, check the show notes under this episode description. If you found today's episode helpful, please share it with a friend who might need to hear this. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep glowing, keep growing, and remember, you are so worthy of feeling amazing in your body and mind. Mwah!